We tackle the hybrid war that Putin is conducting against Finland using immigrants, but what is Russia's goal in all this? War isn't merely about soldiers firing guns and planes flying overhead launching missiles. All that represents only the most visible part of conflicts, but behind the scenes, away from media attention, other equally brutal and violent wars are taking place. Wars unfold at different levels, such as in the realm of information, where armies of influencers attack the media to impose a particular view or perspective on the conflict. There are wars in the field of cybersecurity, with hackers engaged by governments fighting in cyberspace to find vulnerabilities in enemy networks, as well as wars at political, diplomatic, legal, and even humanitarian levels. This type of conflict is called hybrid warfare, a term that began to be used in the early 21st century and encompasses concepts, theories, and strategies used to a greater or lesser extent for decades, as highlighted during World War II. Even though this conflict has involved more vehicles and soldiers on the ground, it has also proposed many practices recognized today as features of hybrid warfare, such as manipulating minds and hearts through the media, emphasizing radio through which political messages were massively broadcast to millions of households worldwide. In this conflict, political warfare has also been used, an important element of hybrid warfare involving political manipulation of the enemy through propaganda, economic pressure, diplomacy, and even bribes, funding, and support to the enemy's weakness from the political side and reducing military progress on the battlefield. Now, in the 21st century, all these methods have been improved, and their effectiveness maximized thanks to technologies like the internet, enabling mass communication that was once impossible. Thanks to the internet, propaganda, one of the most important weapons of hybrid warfare, has become even more effective. Actual armies spread the message and vision from one side of the spectrum, attacking and neutralizing the message and vision from the other side. Another innovation introduced by the 21st century in hybrid warfare has been the use of immigrants as an offensive and pressure weapon. Immigration, mainly from the Middle East and Africa to Europe and from Latin America to the United States, is one of the greatest challenges of the 21st century, and the richest countries face a terrible dilemma: how to distinguish a legitimate immigrant seeking asylum from fleeing a war or repressive regime from a terrorist or saboteur sent by a rival power. Or how to know if the wave of immigrants flooding their borders is a natural phenomenon or artificially created by the enemy only to overload the country's internal services. This kind of attack has been widely used in recent years. For example, Turkey sent tens of thousands of immigrants to the Greek border in early 2019 and 2020. The aim of this attack by Turkish President Erdogan was to retaliate against Greece for blocking Turkey's entry into the oil and gas reservoirs around Cyprus. In 2021, it was the turn of Belarusian dictator Lukashenko to use this weapon, but this time against Poland, causing a wave of millions of immigrants, mainly from Iraq, Syria, and Iran. In July of the same year, Lukashenko also began to exert pressure on the Baltic countries, sending tens of thousands of people through the border checkpoints in the midst of winter. Now, in 2023, it is Russia and Vladimir Putin's turn to use these weapons, but this time against Finland. At the end of World War II, in 1945, Finland entered into an agreement with Russia, promising to remain neutral in exchange for Russia's promise not to invade or exert pressure on Finland. Both parties fully respected this agreement until 2022, when Putin attacked Ukraine. The Russian invasion of Ukraine raised serious concerns in Finland. The country's leaders, led by Prime Minister Sanna Marin, feared that if Putin dared to attack Ukraine with extremely weak arguments, completely disconnected from reality, Finland, like Ukraine, not being part of any military alliance, could also be attacked. This fear led the Finns, in collaboration with the Swedes, to start the process of joining NATO. One of Putin's economic excuses for his invasion of Ukraine was Russia's fear that Ukraine, having a direct border with Russia, would join NATO. That's why when Finland, a country bordering Russia, announced its intention to join the alliance, Putin was clearly furious and launched a long series of threats, including the use of nuclear weapons. However, despite all the clamor and noise, Finland joined NATO, opening a direct border with Russia over 1,300 kilometers long. From that moment on, Russia would not be able to do in Finland what it did and continues to do in Ukraine. As upset and annoyed as he may be, Putin knows he cannot directly attack Finland because an attack on that country would trigger a coordinated response from all alliance members, including, of course, the United States. With the military option completely ruled out, Putin opted for hybrid warfare, choosing immigrants as his first offensive weapon. According to the Finnish government, in the last 3 months, over 1,000 people, mainly from Syria, Iraq, Iran, and even Somalia, have attempted to enter Finland illegally from Russia. The influx of immigrants is unprecedented. For immigrants to reach the Finnish border, they must travel thousands of kilometers inside Russian territory, and this journey is made possible only through direct support from Vladimir Putin's regime, according to the Finnish government. According to the Finnish government, Putin's goal in this case is to overload the borders and social services of the state, and of course, the risk that Russians try to introduce terrorists or saboteurs into the Union territory cannot be ruled out. In this regard, Finland announced on Tuesday, November 28, the total closure of its entire border with Russia, and this blockade will remain in effect at least until the second week of December, when the situation will be reassessed. Until then, Putin will continue